second neurotype we will look at as far as the general training overview is the type 1B. Now, the type 1B, remember the word is explosiveness. So they need to feel explosive. So any training method where you can create acceleration will work well for them. So that's one of the reasons why the heavy partials don't work as well for them or don't even work at all compared to the 1A or the 2A, because they can't use a stretch reflex or acceleration. I mean, if you're lifting only 4 inches, first of all, the muscle is not stretched, so you can't use a stretch reflex. And if you try to accelerate from at that point, you might injure your shoulders on the bench press or knees on the squat or hips. So that's not a good idea. So they will not get what they want, and they're not built for that grinding kind of strength, so it's not a good developmental exercise. So they need to use more exercise based on acceleration, like Olympic weightlifting from the hang, for example, plyometrics. And even when they do squats, bench press, and stuff like that, they should try to accelerate the weight as much as possible, regardless of the weight, obviously always maintaining good technique. Now, these guys, one thing that differentiates them from the 1A is they have a high level of acetylcholine. So one way of differentiating both, because they both thrive on dopamine, is that the type 1B is good at multitasking. So for example, they can be on a computer, write an article, and watch TV at the same time. Me, if I write an article, I can't watch TV, I can't have anything around me. If my wife comes to talk to me, I don't even know she's in the room. Now, I'm not built for multitasking. A 1B will be great at multitasking. So for that reason, when he's training, he needs more variation in the form of exercises. So they need more exercises in a session. They can do more volume, but not by doing more sets, by doing more exercises. And because they like that variation because of like switching focus, remember, when you have a capacity and you don't use it, you lose motivation. So if you have the capacity to multitask, you need to use it. So in training, pairing 2 exercises together works great. So for example, I'm doing 1 set of bench press, then 1 set of face pull, for example. You always will have 1 bigger, stronger lift where you can really accelerate, and 1 more supportive movement. So that works great for them. So combining 2 exercises give them the illusion that they're not doing the same thing over and over again, and it appeals to their multitasking capacity. Now, as far as intensity, they also need to go heavy, but not as heavy as a 1A, because they are, after all, neurodominant. The main difference is in how they will lift the weight. The 1A will lift slow grinding strength. The 1B will try to use momentum to lift the weight. But in both cases, they could go to the 90, 92, 95% range. The type 1A can ramp up to a maximum or near maximum fairly often. The type 1B can ramp up to about 92, 95%, but very rarely to 97, 100. So again, lots of variation in the form of exercises and more training methods, but everything they do, it needs that accelerative component to it. They don't do well on accumulating lactic acid. I mean, you lose them really fast with lactic acid buildup. So you need to avoid like those slow pump training methods. Now, as far as deloading for them would be doing something different, but that is accelerative in nature. So instead of like doing purely weightlifting based activities, maybe do 3 days where you would do training based on jumping, throwing, sprinting, striking a tire with a sledgehammer. Like that accelerative stuff at a very low volume will help them recover and recharge their battery, if you want to call it that. So these would be some important things to remember. Now, they don't do well on slow tempos. They don't do well on pause lifting. They don't do well on lift from pins. They don't do that great on bodybuilding work either. So it's really allow them to accelerate the weight. Even on isolation work, allow them to use a little bit of momentum. Not that much, just enough to be able to use that stretch reflex. They don't need to feel that mind-muscle connection or that pump like the two A's or the two B's, but they still have that muscle component, but they find it in the stretch reflex, not in the muscle pump or mind-muscle connection. So remember, acceleration, explosiveness is the name of the game.